Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats Podcast, where today we're testing everyone to see if you are in the holiday spirit or not.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats Pod, live from Studio K, presented by our fine friends over at Circle K. I am Damon Fairall. He is Mr. Kevin Thomas, and we are the AZ Wildcats Pod, of course, presented by Brandon Bills, as always on this show. We love our friends at Brandon Bills. I'm always rocking a Brandon Bills lid. Shout out my guy Max in the chat, already in the chat, holding it down strong. We love Brandon Bills. Head on over to brandonbills.com, BBPHNX. We'll get you 15% off your first order. Kevin, we're talking Holiday Bowl today. We're talking a little bit of Alabama, Arizona, and we're talking the disrespect somehow continuing for one Jaden Bradley. We'll get into all of it. And of course, we got our guy Justin Spears making his long-awaited return back to the show. It's been too damn long. I don't know what happened. I know what happened. Of course, Arizona was just very, very busy for both of us. And we, of course, appreciate our friend Justin Spears, who we'll bring on the show now for, carving out some time and returning to this pod. It's been too long, Justin.
Way too long. I thought you guys disowned me or something. I'm like, fellas, I thought we were friends. Like, come on now. But man, good to see you guys. Excited to be back on. I'm in the holiday spirit for multiple reasons. One, Holiday Bowl coming up. And then two, I can't believe it, man. We are 2 weeks away from Santa Claus coming to town, man. Yeah. The big man himself coming down to deliver us presents. I can't believe we're already here, man. That Christmas is already here. I felt like the football season just started, man. Time flies.
Time really does fly. I was watching I watched a really bad Christmas movie this morning. It didn't really get me in the holiday spirit, but I definitely am in the Holiday Bowl spirit because Arizona is set for the Holiday Bowl against SMU. Christmas is my favorite holiday, Justin. I don't know if you are like me, but this is my favorite time of the year. I don't like that we don't get snow out here in Arizona. It doesn't really make it feel very Christmassy, but Arizona being in the Holiday Bowl, I'll take that for holiday spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, as far as if we're doing rankings of the favorite holidays, see, I'm more of a Thanksgiving guy just because you got everything you need. You got food, you got family, maybe some friends, and then definitely some football as well. And there's no religious obligation, I guess. You're not required to go to church on Thanksgiving morning. You just wake up, cook, get some good food, and eat and watch some football. And maybe I'm a little biased, but 4th of July is also one of my favorite holidays, but that's just because that's my birthday. So
fair enough.
A little hint dropped there, Damon. Well, remember next 4th of July that it's not just America's birthday; it's also Justin Spears' birthday.
Dude, imagine how heartbroken I was because my parents told me when I was a little kid, and we're at these events and we see all the fireworks and stuff like that. They really had my ass going. They thought that the fireworks, this celebration was all for me, and come to find out, it wasn't for me. It was for everybody there. And I remember I was a little kid, and we were at this fireworks event. And everybody that we passed, I was thanking them for coming out to my party. And my parents were like, hey, just let him say it. Just let him say it. So, but
what a shocking development that must have been. I mean, I think I was probably gullible enough myself, and I'm an only child, so I definitely would have been like, yeah, this is all definitely for me. This is a big giant fiesta for Damon here. But you know what? It's fine, Justin. We get it. I think this is still a situation where you can play it off as this is all for me in your head for until the end of time. And what can anyone say to disagree with you?
I'm right there with you, man. So thank you again in advance for coming to my birthday party. everyone in the world, whether you're watching PHNX Wildcats podcast or not, like, thank you for celebrating my birthday every July 4th.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. I was going to say that's kind of like an elite troll to play on your young child whose birthday happens to be on the 4th. You're just kind of telling them, like, yeah, like, this is all for you, knowing one day wholeheartedly that they will realize that this is not all for them. In fact, it is quite the opposite. It is for the entire country but them on that day.
As Max says here, shout out John Adams for setting up that party for Justin. What is it? Almost 300 years running here? Or, yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
Just listen, I have the best party of all time. What can I say, guys? So thank you guys in advance. You guys are invited, like you guys are every year.
Wow.
By the way, speaking of attending things, are you guys going out to San Diego for the holiday bowl?
Yeah, I was about to, the elite transition. I was about to say the same thing. Speaking of a party, let's talk a little bit of holiday bowl action, Justin. We will be in San Diego, boots on the ground. I assume you will be as well, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm getting out there nice and early on December 28th. I'm going to be covering the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. And as soon as I leave the stadium, Casino del Sol Stadium, I'm going to close my laptop, go home, rest up, wake up first thing in the morning, and head on out to San Diego. As you guys know, I've got some family out there in San Diego.
Justin City.
Yeah, man. I'll be visiting my mother and my grandfather, her dad. They both live out in San Diego, so I'll get some family time in. And yeah, I love going out to San Diego. And I know that a lot of people in Arizona, they love going on vacation in San Diego. Here's my thing. I will not be attending Mission Beach in San Diego because that is known as Arizona Beach. And I don't want to be that typical like Arizonan that just goes to Mission Beach whenever they go to San Diego. So all the Arizona fans out there, you guys have a blast at Mission Beach. Make sure you have an ice cream cone. Make sure you get some goodies out there. But I will not be there. I will be over at Ocean Beach checking out some Hodads.
With the people.
With the real people of San Diegans. Hodads. It's the best
burger joint. Come on, Kevin.
I'm not hip to that.
No. See, Justin, this is the thing. Obviously, being from Tucson, being from Arizona, I've been to San Diego more times than I can count in my life. I know all the spots. I've now been there a couple times as an adult and enjoyed some nightlife. I'm excited to show my guys, Kevin and Noah, about the city a little bit myself because Noah Wilbricht is going to be sent out with us, producer of the PHNX Cardinals podcast. He's from Michigan. He moved out here, probably about a year and a half ago now, a year ago. He's never been to California before. Kevin has only been to San Diego once, and COVID happened right in the middle of the damn trip. So we got a lot of San Diego teaching to do these kids, Justin.
It's honestly a fantastic city. I mean, when they say America's finest city, I disagree. I think that is Tucson, Arizona. But I mean, San Diego, very, very close second in my Justin Spears rankings of the greatest cities on earth. And it's a beautiful city that has a lot of great people, a lot of things to do. And unfortunately, that's why the Chargers are no longer there. All their fans just had too many things going on, so they didn't go to games. But man, it's a fantastic city. And honestly, what a great way to end the football season. Because, when Arizona got to bowl eligibility, we talked about it, guys, like, oh, what bowl games are we thinking? And I'm like, ABS, anything but Shreveport. Give me El Paso. Give me, give me Las Vegas. Give me the LA Bowl on December 13th. Like, any of those cities would be great. I'm not trying to fly to Shreveport, Louisiana for the holidays. No offense if you're from that part of the country, but I was thinking, man, the Sun Bowl, they're going to roll out the red carpet for Arizona. That's going to be great. And then they kept winning and winning and winning. And then they got to 9 wins. And I'm like, oh, damn, they might return to the Alamo Bowl as a Pac-12 opponent, or the Holiday Bowl is, a possibility. And then when we were at the Territorial Cup, in that post-game press conference, and all of a sudden I see a gentleman wearing a red coat, wearing a red blazer, and he asked, I think it was Dalton and Traden and Chuba Ma'ai a question, and they also asked Brent Brennan a question as well. And I'm like, who is this guy? And as soon as the press conference ended, he turned to everybody and was like, well, I'll see you all in San Diego, and then walked out. And then come to find out that was a Holiday Bowl rep. And we go out in the hallway, we see that rep talking to Brent Brennan, talking to other U of A staffers, and we're kind of like, okay, so this is a thing. And then the guy also said that they came to Tempe, Arizona with a contract that had ASU's name on it. And now we're going to have to do some serious reconsideration. And then the fact that they were talking and schmoozing with the Arizona Wildcats people. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be the Holiday Bowl. I would be shocked if it's not the Holiday Bowl. And then, we kind of got some drama on Selection Sunday because we all thought, okay, it's Arizona, but who's going to be the opponent? And then Notre Dame was excluded from the college football playoff. And then come to find out, the Holiday Bowl, the Gator Bowl, the Pop-Tarts Bowl were like arm wrestling each other, trying to figure out who's going to get Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame gave all the bowl games the middle finger and said, all right, we're going to take our ball, go home. Or if we're not in the playoff, we're not going to compete in anybody's bowl games.
Loser behavior.
They're ducking Arizona. Let's call it like loser it is, Justin. Behavior. The Holiday Bowl was like, hey, what about playing Arizona? And Notre Dame said, oh, those boys are hot right now. We don't want to play them.
You mean we got to face Redline?
We'd rather hang up the cleats on the season. It's over. Marcus Freeman said, I'm not going up against Brent Brennan. That'll just embarrass myself.
Jeremiah Love didn't want to run the ball against those hard-hitting linebackers, apparently.
Hell no.
Didn't want to face Dalton Johnson. Yeah, I was hoping, man, Notre Dame versus Arizona in the Holiday Bowl. Man, that's – speaking of – we were talking about fireworks earlier on my special birthday.
That would be like Oklahoma. It's like beating Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. You're getting Notre Dame in the Holiday Bowl, and you cap off the season beating like a premier program that maybe didn't have their greatest year of all time, but still a good enough year to be in a one of the top bowl games such as the Holiday Bowl.
No doubt, and it's funny, Notre Dame. I think the last time they played against Arizona went over to South Bend and beat them on a game-winning field goal. Max and Dejas made it, and Arizona beat the number one team in the country at that time. It's one of the biggest wins in program history. But then once Notre Dame said, screw all you guys, we're out of here. We're going home for Christmas. Then you started to see the chips fall. Like Arizona found out its opponent 30 minutes after Notre Dame said that they're backing out of bowl consideration. So, and we knew that SMU was possibly the opponent. I felt like SMU was going to be the opposing side, but you just never know until you know. And then I wanted to see how the college football playoff unraveled and see where Miami fell, because, man, wouldn't that be something if Miami was somehow excluded from the CFP? Then Miami could have gone to the Holiday Bowl, and that would have been a rematch of that crazy Fiesta Bowl in 1993, where Arizona just absolutely clobbered the Hurricanes. And at that time, Miami was like one of the premier programs in college football.
Someone in the chat asked if the Holiday Bowl was the biggest bowl game Arizona's ever played in. I would say maybe that Fiesta Bowl, probably up there, including the 2014 Fiesta Bowl. I'd say the Fiesta Bowl in general is probably the biggest bowl game that Arizona's played in.
Yeah, I think the Holiday Bowl is a very close second.
Yes.
But the Fiesta Bowl against that juggernaut Miami team, and then they played in that Fiesta Bowl against Boise State in 2014. Damn Jay Ajayi, man, going off against the Wildcats. But yeah, I would probably say Fiesta Bowl and then Holiday Bowl. And now this is the third trip for Arizona to the Holiday Bowl. And hey, don't sleep on SMU, man. This is a really good team. I think they match up perfectly against Arizona because you kind of get like the clash of the powers. Like Kevin Jennings, their quarterback, the dude can spin it. And he's got a ton of passing yards. He's a really good thrower. But Arizona's passing defense is one of tops in college football. And so I'm excited to see this high-powered SMU offense go up against this great Arizona defense. And, it could be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think, Arizona is going to come out and just mollywop SMU. But, man, this SMU team, we talk about Arizona being maybe a couple plays away from being 11-1 and being right there in that Big 12 championship CFP conversation. SMU, right, if they didn't pee themselves against Cal, there's also a couple moments where we could be talking about SMU having a couple more wins on their resume. And this was a team that a year ago was in the college football playoff, and they lost in that first round. And a year later, a couple plays away from being in that CFP conversation. So, the records suggest that Arizona, they should be able to win this game. but SMU is a really good team. They are so well coached. Rhett Lashley is in his 4th year as head coach of the Mustangs, and he's got a really good thing going right now. And, we see a lot of players deciding to enter the transfer portal and whatnot. SMU, they still have guys there. So they're going to be fully loaded. They're going to be ready to go. And I can't wait for January 2nd in San Diego.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Damon.
Oh, I was just going to say, it seems like a premier matchup. And I was actually going to toot my own horn real quick for a second, because if you remember back on, I believe it was November 8th. Yeah, November 8th against Kansas, Arizona, the day that Arizona got bowl eligibility, I wore my Holiday Bowl shirt on the show because I was trying to speak bowl eligibility into existence. And at that time, it was looking like that Kansas game could potentially be Arizona's best shot at getting bowl eligibility. And I was expecting more like the LA Bowl or something along those lines. Little did I know, not only was I speaking a bowl game into existence, I genuinely spoke the Holiday Bowl into existence. So I just wanted to pat myself on the back for a second. Go back and check the tape.
Check the logs. The logs.
Did you predict 9 wins, though, for Arizona football?
God, no.
Yeah. Ali, my co-host on ESPN Tucson, he's been like taking a victory lap over the last couple of weeks because he was one of the guys, one of the few, and I'll give him a lot of credit. He was saying, I think this is an 8 or 9 win team. And
fair enough.
Okay. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. And then, they got to bowl eligibility, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But there's some tough games still on the schedule. We'll see. And they won 5 straight. It's the longest winning streak that they've had since they won 9 straight between the 2023 and 24 seasons. This Arizona football team is rolling right now. Now, of course, you've got teams that are poking at the staff right now, looking at, what has Arizona got over here? Right. And that comes with the territory of having a really good culture and a really good staff and a really good team. But, right now, Brent Brennan, he's got a really good thing going. And, I know I probably have said this ad nauseum, but it's just really nice knowing that no matter what happens, that, knock on wood, that Brent Brennan is going to be here for a long time. We felt like at some point down the road, Jed Fish, with the path that he was on, that eventually he was going to get that bigger job that just Arizona could not compete with. I wasn't expecting that to be Washington, right? I expected it to be Florida or another, big time team.
Michigan.
Michigan, maybe. We'll see. But it's nice knowing that no matter what, like Brent Brennan is here for the long haul, and he wants to build something special. He wants to continue to have a lot of 10-win seasons. He doesn't want to use a 10-win season as a ticket for another job. He wants to build success here, and he wants to sustain it for the long haul. And I think Arizona has their guy. Now that you got to, maintain that. We'll see how next year looks. But, man, for what it is right now, I think Brent Brennan has done such a fantastic job. And I don't know if I've told you guys this, but what he has done in the last year is the reason why I voted for him as AP Coach of the Year. So myself and Michael Lev, senior writer columnist for the Star, we have 2 AP votes. He's an AP top 25 voter. I'm not cool like Lev. Lev's got all the perks. I've got like the Heisman vote. I got the AP All Big 12 team. I ain't got all the holes punched on my punch card. But Lev and I, we both have AP All Big 12 votes. And we put together the individual awards and the AP All Big 12 team. And I voted for Brent Brennan to win AP Coach of the Year because here's how it looked. Big 12 Coach of the Year.
Big 12 over Sataki.
Yeah. National Coach of the Year. I ain't got it like that. But just strictly for the Big 12, I put Brent Brennan as the Big 12 Coach of the Year because I think I look at it from the offseason perspective. Like this, to me, I gave him the award going back to when Arizona lost 49-7 in the Territorial Cup. Because he went into that offseason realizing, like, crap, we got to really kick this into gear, man. Like, we really have to make some changes, and we really got to put our fingerprints on this program and this team, and we got to start winning now. And Brent Brennan made some really tough decisions in letting go some coaches that he's been connected with for a long time. He had to let go of some coaches that he has known for a while. Some of them were even his mentors when he first got into the coaching gig, right? Guys like Dino Babers. And so letting go of those guys for the betterment of the team and getting the right coordinators, getting the right position coaches in place, like that's a CEO right there, man, where like you got to make tough decisions and it involves people that you care about a lot. And so he did that because he wants to see Arizona football be in the where they're at right now. And he got Danny Gonzalez to be the defensive coordinator. And I mean, I don't really know what my expectations were just because the defense was so bad last year. But Danny Gonzalez, in my opinion, deserves to be your Broyles Award finalist. I mean, we're talking about this defense having more takeaways than touchdowns allowed this year. I can't remember the last time that has happened. 28 takeaways and 25 touchdowns allowed. Just stupid stuff right there. Danny G's the boss. Seth Doege. I mean, Arizona couldn't score more than 30 points in 11 games last year. They are averaging 34 points per game this year. And so I think Brent Brennan making the right coaching hires, and then you see the success on the field. And a part of the success is also recruiting the right players, getting guys from Group of Five and FCS and lower level schools where when they first committed to Arizona, you're like, I'm not really sure what their impact is going to be. And now you look at it now, and Deshaun McKnight and Javen Watley and Ismail Mahdi and all these other guys that were not playing at the Power 4 level, they're thriving right now at Arizona. And so I think the offseason and the season itself, Brent Brennan has taken all the right steps that you want to see from a CEO type of head coach. And it has translated into 9, maybe even 10 wins. And that's why I voted for Brent Brennan to win Coach of the Year. Now, with that being said, I have no qualms with Kalani Sitake getting that Coach of the Year award, because if you look at that quarterback situation, they went from Jake Retzloff to Bear Bachmeier, a true freshman. And when that transition happened, it went from like, oh man, BYU, they went from being a CFP team to now I'm not sure what the future holds for BYU, because the quarterback spot is such an important position. And if they're going to lean on a true freshman quarterback, like good luck. And their only 2 losses this year was to Texas Tech in the state of Texas. And people were like, well, they got killed by Texas Tech. That's why they're not in the CFP. And it's like, well, yeah, a lot of people got killed by Texas Tech this year. So I don't agree with them getting docked for the CFP. And when Kalani Sitake was named AP Big 12 Coach of the Year and also Big 12 Coach of the Year, I thought about their quarterback situation. I was like, nah, I have no issues with that whatsoever. My vote, however, would have been with Brent Brennan.
And you know, Justin, I do have a couple more questions on the coordinator side of things and also more about the bowl and the offseason. We got a lot to talk to you about. It's been a minute, Justin. But we're going to go ahead and take our first break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So you know the drill. Leave a like, drink your water, do not go anywhere. If you have been involved in any sort of serious injury or wrongful death type of situation, there's only one number to call, 602-783-8841. And when you do call that number, you will reach the husband and wife law team. That's Mark and Alexis Breyer. They have been doing it out here in the Valley for so long. They have, we talked about this on the show before. We can say generations, right? When you have 8 kids in a place, you might as well have generations of family out here in the Valley. And it's not just the family value and community culture that they want to build. It is also a successful track record in the courtroom because they are trial lawyers. They actually go to trial. And if a case needs to go to trial, they are ready for all that smoke. They know their way around a courtroom, just like me and Damon know our way around a Sonoran hot dog in Tucson. You know what I mean? And the practice is 100% dedicated to injury and wrongful death. So, of course, no one can guarantee the outcome of a legal case. However, there are some guarantees that the husband and wife law team like to make to their clients. These are some of those guarantees. You can cancel at any time their agreement for any reason. You will receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their attorney's fee, even if they have to reduce their fee to make that happen. And you may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you want to discuss. You want to talk about how soon they should build the Noah Fifita statue? You can call 602-783-8841. And do that with your attorneys. If you've had a serious injury, though, in a more serious note, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at our show notes below and tell them PHNX sent you.
Proud sponsors of the Arizona Diamondbacks as well, by the way, Kevin. Shout out the husband and wife law team. Guys, I need you to write down this date, December 21st, Arizona Cardinals facing off against the Atlanta Falcons at State Farm Stadium. The Smirnoff truck will be there doing their exciting signature serves featuring the spicy tamarind flavor, where they're going to be handing out all sorts of samples, having a good time, giving away free prizes. You're going to want to check it out for yourself. If you're heading out to the game, if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, first off, I'm sorry. Second off, this game has some big draft implications. The Falcons and the Cardinals are somewhat fighting for similar draft pick, areas. So it does mean everything. And now, with Atlanta getting a win last night against the Buccaneers, maybe that helps the Cardinals a little bit. We'll see, but you're going to have to go see for yourself at State Farm Stadium. Go to the tailgate situation. You'll find that Smirnoff truck. And like I said, it's on December 21st. So you got a little bit of time to gear up and get ready for it. If you're cheering on the Cardinals in person against the Atlanta Falcons on December 21st, don't forget to stop by and see our friends at the Smirnoff truck. We are back, and of course, shout out my guy Jervis here in the chat who checked out the Alabama Crimson Crossover podcast that I did with my guy Charles Branch over there, and I retweeted the link there. I'll quote tweet it later, but if you're looking for some Alabama, Arizona type pregame coverage, you can go head on over to the Crimson Crossover podcast. Check it out for yourself. It's an all Alabama basketball podcast.
Wow.
And I was like, he said they recently started doing football coverage, but I was like, that's pretty cool.
So they're the Mikhail Madness of Bama.
Yeah.
In a way.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Except it'd be more like if there was like just an Arizona football podcast, because it's the less popular of the sports on campus there. But I mean, right now football's jumping. We're popping right now. We got 50 people in the chat. Please drop a like on this video. And this is a football only podcast so far. So the Arizona fans are locked in on Redline and what Brent Brennan and co have going on. But Justin, we got a bit of breaking news in the college football side of things, in just the Big 12 in general. Kyle Whittingham stepping down as Utah's head coach. Scally will take over, was named the head coach in waiting. But the development being that Kyle Whittingham is open to coaching other coaching opportunities. He's just not going to be doing so at the University of Utah anymore.
Interesting, man. And we all knew that this was going to happen, right? He said, hey, at some point down the road, I'm going to move away from Utah. Scally's going to be the head coach. But I was wondering, how long was this going to carry on? Is this like an Al Michaels, Mike Tirico situation, right? Because I remember when Mike Tirico, he first joined NBC because he was under the impression that he was going to get Sunday Night Football, but Al Michaels wasn't going anywhere. He just, kind of kept hanging around. So I was wondering, like, when Kyle Whittingham would finally, leave Utah. And man, just it's crazy to think that these coaches that have been at their posts for a long time are no longer going to be there. Kyle Whittingham was Urban Meyer's successor at Utah. Think about that, way back in the day, 20 years ago. And then you had Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State get fired earlier in the season. So these guys that have been at their stops for decades, no longer there. It's going to be really weird to see. But, man, what Kyle Whittingham did at Utah, it's remarkable, man. And, yes, I do agree with Max. The Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth Sunday Night Football broadcast is like I always got the Sunday scaries listening to it. I was like, oh, damn, I got work or school tomorrow morning. I know a lot of people felt the exact same way. But still, it's an elite broadcasting combination. But, yeah, Kyle Whittingham, it's going to be very weird not seeing him on the sidelines. I am definitely going to miss the weekly depth charts that he would tinker with and put absurd names on them. He just did not really care for the depth chart or the injury report and all that. But, I mean, Utah football is what it is right now because of Kyle Whittingham. And you know what? Kyle Whittingham kind of made Utah somewhat the standard for programs like Arizona, right? Where you're not in this big city and you're not considered a program that has all the resources. But if you have an identity and you recruit to that identity, then you're going to be successful for a long time. And that's exactly what Utah did under Kyle Whittingham. If you ever notice, like, Kyle Whittingham's teams were always super tough. And they always had really good offensive and defensive linemen. And a big part of that was they had such a strong Polynesian influence on their team. And I'll never forget when Jedd Fisch first took over at Arizona, and he said that Utah is the standard. And he got so much flack for that. They're like, Arizona fans, like, we shouldn't beat Utah. We're better than that.
That's
And it's like,
ridiculous.
you're better than multiple Pac-12 championship appearances.
Rose
You're
Bowls.
better than that. Well, I haven't seen it. So I think for right now, it's fair to say that Utah is the standard that you guys are chasing until you can exceed that and set your own expectation. I just will never forget how much guff Jedd Fisch got for saying, I want Arizona football to be just like Utah. That is something that Arizona should strive for. And I think they'll kind of get to that under Brent Brennan.
I vividly remember having that conversation when that was said with my parents at the time, and we were like, we were with you, Justin, thinking, what are Arizona fans talking about? That would be the absolute model program. And I also remember saying, except for some of the extracurriculars that Utah players like to throw in at the end of plays and whatnot, because they have a bit of a reputation for being a dirty team in my household in particular. But outside of that, like, they are for sure the model, I would say, and what you should strive to be. But Kyle Whittingham has brought Utah to that place because he stuck it out in Salt Lake City for so long. He assuredly had opportunity after opportunity to leave along the way when he was building Utah up to that level. And like any coach that is successful would. And Arizona is now in the place, Justin, where they're experiencing a little bit of that success leading to losing some of the people that helped get you there in the first place. Let's start off with maybe some of the bigger pieces. We're going to kind of run down, people that have left for new positions, people that are interested in new jobs. But I think that, the fans are probably most locked in on what the coordinators are going to do here in Seth Doege and Danny Gonzalez. From a Seth Doege standpoint, I've heard a little bit of rumblings about TCU having an opening. He's a Texas guy. They have probably more money than Arizona can play with, but Seth Doege has seemed pretty locked in on this Arizona program. Danny Gonzalez, same thing. I've seen some Twitter speculation that maybe Nebraska could be interested, but he's seems locked in on this community and what this football program has going on. Are you hearing anything in the way of potential promotions or new jobs in the line for a Danny Gonzalez or a Seth Doege, or do you feel comfortable about them sticking around for a year or two in charge in Tucson?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if those guys are gone after this year. Like, I think that these guys, they want to stay here as long as they can. And, I think both coordinators are in a different spot in their career. I feel like the only way that Danny Gonzalez would leave Arizona is if he were to become a head coach again. And if you look at the situation or the hand that he was dealt at New Mexico, just such a crappy hand. I mean, he became the head coach in 2019, and then COVID hit. And then with the New Mexico state guidelines and laws that they had in place for COVID, they were unable to work out in groups. They couldn't even work out in their own weight room. And so Danny Gonzalez was saying that, yeah, our team at New Mexico went a year and a half without even touching a weight. And they had to go spend the pandemic influenced season in Las Vegas because of the state laws. They had to move their whole operation to Las Vegas, and they were staying in a hotel room and using UNLV's facilities. And come to find out, who was at UNLV at the time? Desiree Reed-Francois, Arizona's current AD, and she allowed the Lobos to use their facilities and use their stuff, but they were unable to work out in groups. So it was just a complete mess. And then you had the transfer portal as well. And New Mexico had some dudes, and all those dudes went over to greener pastures. They had, Danny was saying that they had a handful of offensive linemen that all went on to start at Power 4 schools. And then you also had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt as well at running back. And Danny joked, he was like, man, if I was still the head coach in New Mexico, man, the Wildcats would have had a problem on August 30th last year. I'll tell you that.
We did have a problem. Luke Wysong.
Yeah, Luke Wysong was a big time problem, and they couldn't really stop New Mexico's offense.
Devin Dampier. It was a huge problem.
New Mexico scored almost 40 points that game. And that was without Bill and all the linemen and stuff like that. So I think that Danny is I'm going to be here at Arizona until the right head coaching opportunity presents itself. And then I think when Danny eventually becomes a head coach somewhere down the road, he's going to be great at wherever stop he goes to. Because knock on wood, he doesn't got to deal with a global pandemic, doesn't have to deal with these weird situations. And that's where Danny G is at right now. As far as Seth Dagey, I think Seth wants to become a head coach someday, but I don't think he's going to leave Arizona until he is finished with the project that is Noah Fifita.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to get one more year with Noah, work with him. And then next year, we could probably talk about Seth Dagey looking to maybe elevate to a bigger program that's going to give him more money than Arizona can compete with, or become a head coach. That's just my feeling of the situation, that Danny Gonzalez ain't leaving until he's a head coach. Seth Dagey ain't leaving until he is finished working with his protege in Noah Fifita. Because if you hear the way that Seth Dagey talks about Noah Fifita, this is a personal thing for him. Noah is like his little brother. He loves Noah to death. Like, he is the best quarterback that he has worked with. And so I just feel the way that Seth Dagey is, I think he wants to get at least one more year working with Noah Fifita. And then once Noah's done, we'll see what happens after that. But, Seth likes this setup that he has here at Arizona. And I think both coordinators, I think they're going to be here next year. And then, of course, Brent Brennan wants to make sure he's maintaining that continuity, and they're doing whatever they can to make sure that their assistant coaches are compensated fairly.
Be kind of a criminal move to leave Noah Fifita in his senior season with, kind of the just the special quarterback you have in place there. But I guess crazier things have happened, but it does feel like it's like family ties with Seth Dagey and Noah Fifita.
Absolutely.
Alonzo Carter and Sac State, though, there were some rumblings that he is not only getting interest from them, but that he is a potential finalist for that role. That was like maybe, 48 hours ago now on the 10th that we got that news. Do we have any updates as to whether or not our boy Hammer Time Adjacent will be moving on?
Man, I love Alonzo Carter, and I think he is so worthy of this opportunity. He is a finalist for the job. Now, will he get the job? We'll see, just because the other two candidates, maybe more with all due respect to Alonzo Carter, very enticing people, right? Because, you look at Deshaun Jackson, this former NFL player who's a superstar. He went to school in Cal. He went to UC Berkeley, so he's very familiar with the Bay Area, very familiar with the state of California in recruiting. He's had some success at Delaware State. And so maybe that's, a guy that they turn to. And then the other guy that's in contention for the job is Troy Taylor, who is the former Stanford Cardinal coach, and he coached at Sacramento State. I mean, that's the big reason why he was such a huge name, and the reason why he went to Stanford was because of the job that he did at Sacramento State. So maybe they spin the block again with Troy Taylor, the guy that brought success to Sac State, or they can go to a guy like Alonzo Carter and take a chance on an up-and-coming position coach and a guy that is a Bay Area coaching legend. If you talk to people that are in the football community up there and you mention Alonzo Carter, he's almost like the Bay Area godfather for football, because he coached at McClymonds High School, which is the school that produced Michael Dansby and Javion Cole, Arizona's two cornerbacks. And he won a lot of games with, inner city kids from Oakland, and won a lot. And then he went to, I think it's called like Contra College. I hope I'm getting that name right, but it's a school up there in the Bay Area. And he is inducted into their athletics Hall of Fame because of the success that he had as a coach there. And that's a junior college up in the Bay Area. But man, he had success at the high school level. He had success at the junior college level. He is Bay Area through and through. And having a coach like that in Sacramento State, which I know is not Bay Area, right? Sacramento is not considered the Bay, but it's still Northern California. And I mean, Alonzo Carter can really do a nice job of putting a fence around the whole Northern California area and making sure that some of the supreme talent ain't leaving that part of the state, and they're staying and playing at Sacramento State. And Sacramento State, they're doing a nice job of really investing in sports. I know somebody in the chat mentioned that Mike Bibby, former Arizona Wildcat, is the head coach at Sacramento State right now. One of his star players is Mikey Williams, the former highly touted recruit that got into a little bit of trouble coming out of high school. Has become a journeyman in college football, or excuse me, college basketball, and is now at Sacramento State. Yeah, just a little bit of trouble, but Sacramento State, they're investing in sports big time right now. And going back to Alonzo Carter, I don't know if he's going to get the job. I honestly, I truthfully don't know. But what I do know is that if Alonzo Carter were to get this job, he will be a home run hire. I mean, he's exactly that Sacramento State. He's the guy that they are looking for. Now, will he get it? I don't know, because, you have the former coach who was successful, and then you got the former NFL superstar that played at Cal that has the flash and the name to go along with that. So we'll see. That's something to monitor. Maybe we'll get some news here in whether it's today or tomorrow.
And as Max says, we know that Mikey Williams and Julian Newman are truly the future of basketball. So Sac State is on the forefront of maybe the next guard Wemby, maybe without the height or talent. But
man, is Julian Newman at Sacramento State?
No, I don't think so.
Isn't Julian Newman like 28?
Yeah, I think he's like 28. And I think he's like a Snapchat influencer. I think his thing is he has a new reality TV show on Snapchat, or I don't know if you can call it a TV show, but yeah, he's a social media influencer.
He's 24.
Yeah. But Justin,
not playing college ball no more. That's the point of the moral of the story here.
That is the moral of the story. We do have a couple more questions for Justin before we get him out of here today. But before we do that, we're going to take our second break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So leave a like, drink your water, and do not go anywhere. Damon, the Arizona Wildcats have been on quite a roll recently, whether it's on the court or whether it's on the field. And the buck does not stop there, because we're on a roll as Wildcat fans all the time, because we tailgate hard, we celebrate hard, and we cheer even harder with our friends over at Three Amigos, keeping it local with a company founded right here in the Valley in 1939. 1939. That is coming up, honestly, on 100 years at Three Amigos. That is impressive on its own, Damon. And when we talk about what makes Three Amigos different, well, that is easy. The Ramona's Reserve on its own makes Three Amigos different. No one else has tequila as good, as well spiced, as sweet, as smooth as that Ramona's Reserve. But it is not just that Ramona's Reserve. You got Blanco, you got Anejo, you got Extra Anejo, you got all types of different. You got margarita mixes. They got shot glasses for sale as well. Three Amigos is the company to tailgate, toast, and celebrate with. It's the Valley's favorite tequila. It's this podcast favorite tequila. Shout out to our friends over at Three Amigos.
Love myself a little Ramona's Reserve. And Kevin, lots of these being thrown around in these ad reads, because Rally House is the go-to spot for all your favorite local Arizona team gear, whether it's the Arizona Wildcats, Diamondbacks like I got on right now. Maybe you're a Cardinals fan. Again, I'm sorry. Suns having a decent little start to the season thus far, even if they're out of the NBA Cup now. But Rally House is your go-to spot for local team gear. We love our friends at Rally House. We feel bad for our friends at Rally House as well, because Eric Ruby and Anthony Totri have still yet to pay up on their bet. I'm sitting here, I'm wondering, when are they going to do right by my good friends at Rally House, who, of course, were so gracious in allowing me to go there, shop at their store, get myself a nice, beautiful 1997 National Championship shirt, and I can't wait to see my guys rocking it. They're going to look so good representing the only national championship in a major sport in this great state of ours. But shout out to our friends at Rally House. 3 locations here in Arizona, 1 in Mesa, 1 in Tempe at Tempe Marketplace. That's the one we frequent, of course. And then, of course, 1 in Westgate out there at the Cardinals Stadium. Johnny, Bo, Noah, they've done a live show out there. Shout out our friends at Rally House and the Rally House squad. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com today. Kevin is a huge fan of Rally House. He's got his entire, his kitchenware, his dog's collar, the lug nuts that he uses to hang up photos that are St. Louis Blues. This dude is addicted to Rally House. You're going to have to check it out for yourself.
I do love myself some Rally House. Like Damon said, check out the go-to spot for merch and memorabilia for all your favorite teams.
We are indeed back. Please like this video. And of course, We got a couple last questions for Justin Spears here before we get him out of here. So gracious with his time today. But Justin, I wanted to ask you about a staff change that will in fact be happening, and a move that was already made in Geiska Crowley, Arizona's GM, leaving for a presumed raise and upgrade in job at Arkansas due to that raise. Any insight you can give us into Arizona losing a key piece in its Arizona football hierarchy and structure?
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the architects of Arizona football. When you look at the roster turnover this year, over 60 newcomers, and Geiska Crowley had a big hand in those 60 newcomers coming to Tucson. And I think the success on the field, we kind of mentioned it earlier, when these guys in the transfer portal came to the U of A, we didn't really know a lot about these guys, right? I didn't really know much about Deshaun McKnight. I didn't really know much about Javen Watley or Ismail Mahdi or Ty Buchanan. I mean, even some of the other, lower level players as well. You could go down Arizona's recruiting class and you could see a lot of hits. And Geiska Crowley had a big hand in that. And he is one of the most interesting people you will ever meet because, I mean, first of all, his name, Geiska. I've never met a person named Geiska before, but apparently there's a small country next to Spain that's called Basque. And it's a very, very small country. And his dad was a professional highlight player. And he would come over to the United States and play highlight. And it was like a big gambling sport in Florida. And he would make a lot of money playing it in Miami. And then eventually he just decided, all right, we're going to move the Crowleys over to Florida. And that's where he lived. He spent the first part of his life in Basque and then went to live in Florida. And, he got his career working at Exos in Chicago, which is like a scouting department.
Yep.
Really for like the high school level. And I mean, it's just like, if you're a football junkie, if you're a football nerd and you love scouting, like Exos those are the kind of people that you want to talk to. And, he's been kind of moving around college football, started at Exos and then went to Western Michigan and had a gig at UNLV. And Brent Brennan was always just kind of fond of him. Because of Marcus Arroyo, who's ASU's offensive coordinator. He was the head coach at UNLV, and Geiska was on Marcus Arroyo's staff. And just through Marcus Arroyo and, post-game handshakes and getting to know each other, Brent Brennan just always had an affinity and a respect for Geiska. And, he's a rising star in the scouting profession. And so I didn't really know much about Geiska when they first signed him. And then you look at the job that he has done ever since he's been on Arizona staff, not only getting the transfer portal guys that you see on the field this year, but look at the 2026 recruiting class. Now that these guys have been able to recruit the players for 18 months, look at the high school players, the guys that they have for 2026, and they're highly ranked players. Like Arizona has the 35th best class nationally. They have the 4th or the 5th best class in the Big 12. And Geiska Crowley was really the head of that. Now, there's also some other guys involved too, like Fletcher Kelly, the director of scouting. He might be a guy that succeeds Geiska Crowley as the general manager, but he's been Geiska's right-hand man every step of the way. And then they also have about a dozen interns that are working tirelessly at the Lowell Stevens football facility, going over a bunch of recruits. The recruiting process and scouting is so much more advanced than what it was. I mean, even 5-10 years ago. I mean, these guys are just pouring over thousands and thousands. I'm not joking. I asked Fletcher Kelly towards the start of the season, I'm like, just out of curiosity, like how many 2026 guys have you looked at? And he's like, oh man, it's definitely in the thousands. That's for sure. And they're just going over film. And it's not just they're looking for the highlights, because what they do is they go over the entire film and they have the good and the bad. They show the position coaches like, hey, this guy's really good, but here's like some weaknesses, and he's shown it on film. And then the position coaches, they go about like, is it worth offering this guy? So it's a collaborative effort, but Geiska Crowley was a linchpin in that scouting, and he's a rising star, like I said, and he's going to be dearly missed. I mean, look out SEC, because now you're giving Geiska Crowley an SEC checkbook with revenue share and whatnot, and all the resources that they have. And I have no doubt in my mind that Geiska Crowley is going to build a nice roster at Arkansas. And it's a big loss. We'll see how Arizona goes about replacing him. But, yeah, just a tremendous loss. And that kind of comes with the territory of having a really good football program. When you start winning, teams like Arkansas, teams like other, programs around college football, they're going to look at what Arizona has cooking, and maybe they have an offer that Arizona just simply couldn't compete with. I know Geiska, I'm sure making this decision killed him, because I think that he really wanted to be here for the long haul because he likes the staff. He enjoys being here. He's got a family. He loves the Tucson community. But sometimes an opportunity comes along and you just simply can't turn it down. I think that's what we saw here.
You learned about Geiska Crowley this year. I learned about Highlight because you said that, and I had to Google it, and I found out. I pulled up a YouTube video about the rules of this game that I will watch after this podcast is completed, Justin. But I think you're right. Right, this is like a side effect of having a winning season, a successful season, a season where you did take a lot of diamonds in the rough, or you took a lot of, I guess, pieces of coal in the rough and turned them into diamonds, or however you want to phrase that saying, right?
Unknowns.
Unknowns, yeah, and you uncovered those diamonds in the rough. And now teams around the country are saying, who did that? Who led that charge at Arizona, right? I'm not saying it was all Geiska Crowley, but if you're Arkansas and you're saying, we're looking to upgrade a GM who's done the best job across the country, Geiska's name is going to come up. So, yeah, that is definitely a big loss. I wanted to ask you, though, Justin, you mentioned Fletcher potentially stepping up into that role.
Yeah.
Do you expect, regardless of Fletcher's aptitude to do the job, right, regardless of whether or not they're incredible at it or whether or not they're not good at it when it comes time to accept the role, how big do you think a GM can be in a football program in the modern era? Because this is something I've been wondering since this news came out. The GM of a football team or a basketball team is usually like someone I'm aware of loosely, and I kind of know what they do. But in terms of a day-to-day, operations, it sounds like Geiska Crowley is vital to the building of this team that we've seen this season. But at the same time, a lot of the real drivers of success are players from the class years ago that is the class, right? So to what extent do you think this is going to impact Arizona next season and the season after that?
I don't know about, next season, just because they signed a big chunk of 2026 class that's already finalized. But the transfer portal, that opens up in just a few weeks. And, you want to be able to have a general manager in place for when you are out here recruiting transfer portal guys. The college football general manager, like you said, Kev, it's like, I don't really know these guys, right? But professional sports, we know who they are because that's just kind of, we've been so accustomed to this is the professional model. So we know all these GMs. Having a general manager in college football, I'm not going to say it's taboo, but it's new, and we're still trying to get acclimated to having that role because they didn't exist a few years ago. But it is so important, and Geiska Crowley has such an important role for Arizona football, and I think he's done a nice job of, I guess kind of training Fletcher Kelly if they were to go that route. Or, maybe, Geiska has somebody in mind that can, step in and help out Arizona. But the general manager role is very important. And that's why, Arkansas, they saw what Geiska was doing at Arizona. And maybe they can do a little bit of what U of A was doing at, is that also the U of A, the University of Arkansas? Is it Arkansas?
Yeah, I think they like UA. Or I think they prefer UARC or something like that. But okay. I don't know. I might have to ask some of my Razorback friends.
But I think about it like this, going from one U of A to the other, Arkansas isn't considered a top tier football program in the SEC. But that Geiska magic, evaluating the talent and seeing the players that maybe not a lot of other people are looking at, I think he's going to do some of that at Arkansas. And then look out for the Razorbacks. Geiska Crowley could be one of the big reasons why Arkansas football turns things around under Ryan Silverfield. And the one thing that I love about Geiska is that, he wants to recruit the right players, the right men, but he also has this philosophy of getting multi-sport athletes. and also recruiting track athletes as well. And I asked him the philosophy of track athletes, and he's like, what did he say? Fast guys don't run slow.
I was
And
about to say
then
they're fast.
yeah, they're fast. He's like, fast guys don't run slow. And when
Pretty
you get
simple
them,
logic.
when you get them fast in high school, there's a really good chance they're gonna be fast or even faster at the next level. And then when they're fast at the college level, they're gonna be fast at the NFL level. So recruiting that speed, getting track is so important. Multi-sport athletes as well. Like, you'd be surprised how many offensive linemen are playing at Arizona that are like former basketball players. They're over here 300 plus pounds, but they can all dunk a basketball with ease. So Guys Crowley did a nice job of getting the right athletes and the right people here. And I think his next chapter at Arkansas, what he did here at Arizona, he's going to replicate some of that down south. And I can't wait to see what Arkansas is going to look like in a year or two. But as far as the impact for this upcoming year, it may not have a huge impact, but next year for the 2027 recruiting class and that portal class, that's where we're really going to see things get very interesting with the new guy.
Justin, I want to ask you real quick about a couple of transfer portal outgoings and one guy that you tweeted about on your Twitter account. But we got one final break here to hit on the AZ Wildcats pod. We'll do it after that. Don't go anywhere. Leave a like on this video. And, of course, as Kevin says, drink your water.
You know what we're going to talk about if it's another ad read on the AZ Wildcats podcast. It is Circle K. Circle K is the go-to spot for gas and snacks anywhere in the world, dare I say. They say it's America's thirst stop. I'll say it's the globe's thirst stop. Because if we're being honest, the savings at Circle K are just too good to pass up. If you join that inner circle right now for free by downloading the Circle K app, you can get 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents off per gallon on every single fill-up after that, until you turn that tassel from one side of your head to the other and graduate into the 5 cents off per gallon club. Like me, like Damon, like all of your favorite PHNX podcast hosts and producers. And Damon, they got deals on food too. I'm talking about the $3 meal deal matrix. You get an entree that's a hot dog or a tornado. They're, Lay's potato chips as well, and up to 44 ounces of a Polar Pop. The deals at Circle K are unbelievable. Join the Inner Circle for free today by getting that Circle K app. Terms and conditions do apply only at participating locations.
I got to tell you guys about our presenting sponsor today of Branded Bills. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand out for the crowd, there's no better place than Branded Bills to get custom headwear and apparel that will just elevate your brand to an entire new level. We did it here at PHNX Sports. We recently came out with some brand new Branded Bills hats. Head on over to store.allcitynetwork.com. I got that right?
You nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, head on over to store.allcitynetwork.com to check out those hats yourself. But we love our friends at Branded Bills. Of course, I'm rocking a limited edition. I wore my rarest Branded Bills for this specific ad read today, Kevin. The limited edition Diamondbacks Branded Bills lid that they made last season for, I believe it was like only season ticket holders, but we got some.
I think so
over
too.
Here. But Branded Bills is also the only spot to get Arizona Wildcats hats for yourself because the campus collection is special. And when I say special, I mean it, Kevin. It really and well truly is. You heard Coach Chappelle talking about it yesterday on our interview yesterday. And if you didn't, go back and watch it because we got some really good insight into this Arizona basketball team. And Coach Chappelle is loving his Branded Bills lids that he's rocking, the campus collection himself, Arizona Wildcats stuff. And he is one of many who have made the switch over and who can't turn back because these lids are so damn comfortable, Kevin. Head on over to brandedbills.com, use BBPHNX, and get 15% off your first order over at brandedbills.com. Justin, we've had a few outgoings now in the transfer portal from an Arizona football standpoint. Not exactly, the most impactful of players, I guess, on this year's roster, but still guys that bear noting. Braden Locke, of course, QB2 on this team, opens up a potential need at backup quarterback unless Oscar Rios is going to fill that role. But I would assume that, the intention will be for Oscar Rios to redshirt next season, especially with Noah Fifita still at QB. Chancellor Owens, of course, a guy that they brought in from the FCS ranks who didn't necessarily pan out to the level that you would have hoped for, I guess, in this season. And then Michael Wooten, who was a rotational piece on the offensive line at left guard with Chuba Mai, who was, more so the starter, but did get a decent amount of snaps this year on that line. What can you tell us about any of these three outgoings? And it should, is it, given that Arizona had such a solid season, should we expect a lot less action of outgoings in the transfer portal this offseason than last?
Yeah, I think that, if you look at the common denominator between those three guys that you just mentioned, they've got one more year left of eligibility. How do they want to spend that year? Do they want to be backups? And I think that Michael Wooten could see the writing on the wall. I think that Chancellor Owens could also see the writing on the wall. If they want to get serious playing time, if they want to be starters, then they might have to go somewhere else. Braden Locke, he's got one more year left of eligibility. And does he want to be the backup once again? No, I think Braden Locke wants to get some serious playing time. I think he wants to be a starter somewhere. And he has been a starter. He started several games at Wisconsin. He also played a little bit at Mississippi State. And so, that really does not surprise me. And I think, with a lot of the transfer portal departures, it comes down to 1, playing time, and 2, money. Like if we're going to see like a bona fide starter decide to enter the transfer portal, he's probably testing the market, seeing what his value is, and he's probably going to go to where the highest suitor is. So I think with the way the culture is, the way that the team is winning, I would be surprised if you saw a ton of transfer portal departures. And the guys that do go, like I said, are probably looking to get the right situation to play. And somebody just said, I'm not really sure why Braden Locke came to Arizona in the first place. And he described it as like, this is just kind of like my mental year. Like I want to get the right reps or learn from a guy like Seth Dagey, and also even learn from a little bit like a guy from like Noah Fifita, right? And also Seth Dagey, when he first came to Arizona, he looked at the quarterback room and said, okay, if Noah Fifita were to get hurt, where are we at right now? I cannot throw a true freshman Sawyer Anderson out there who has not played a down of college football. I cannot do it. We need a bona fide, experienced backup quarterback, a guy that has experience, a guy that can keep Arizona winning. And Braden Locke is that guy. And now that Braden Locke has done his time as an Arizona Wildcat, he's learned a lot from Seth Dagey. And now he's going to apply what he learned from that year as a backup and can now go to another program and be better and be that starting quarterback. And as far as like the quarterback competition now for Arizona, well, we already know QB1 is Noah Fifita. And then Sawyer Anderson, a guy who has passed for over 14,000 yards, which is a lot of yards. He owns the Dallas-Fort Worth passing record. The most passing yards by Dallas-Fort Worth area quarterback belongs to Sawyer Anderson. There's been a lot of good quarterbacks that have come through that area, that part of the country. That is, football is a religion there. The fact that Sawyer Anderson has that feather in his cap is pretty promising. And Oscar Rios, he's a 4-star quarterback, the highest rated quarterback to sign with the Wildcats since 2001. And now they're going to roll out the ball and say, all right, fellas, go out. Who wants to win QB2? And who could position themselves as maybe QB1 for 2027. So Arizona's in a really good spot right now. Transfer portal departures, we'll see how that holds, but I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it was last year.
Yeah, it seems like most of the outgoings are going to be guys that don't have any eligibility left. Are we all good there, Mike?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I went to sit up, and then I moved my laptop and it made a noise, and then I was going to be like, ooh. And then I bit my lip, and so it made it do a whole theatrical thing where I was like, boom, made a
that
noise.
Was like
that
a Three Stooges level of trying to adjust in the seat. But to answer Pigeon's question here in the chat, asking not really sure why Locke came to Arizona in the first place, I would say that it was probably him, kind of being pushed out at Wisconsin, because he didn't have a great year there. He was looking for a place to get playing time at a decent level of college football. He probably didn't really receive much interest, in terms of being a starter. And so he was, took a beat, went to Arizona, decided to be a backup for a year, and basically knew the entire time that the next season he was going to use that as, a springboard, if you will, to try to get, a starting spot elsewhere. So I think that this was always probably in the cards from a Braden Locke perspective. And honestly, with Oscar Rios probably being like the backup in waiting, if you will, if something was to happen to Noah Fifita, like maybe he would be, similar to like a Julian Lewis, but not in the way that, like it would be Fifita being Salter level bad. But like, it would be like, hey, this guy is here if we need him, but we're going to try not to play him. And maybe you take another Braden Locke type of quarterback, a guy who has started before, maybe isn't receiving the level of interest that he was hoping for in the transfer portal, and just wants to take a year, back up a really good quarterback in Noah Fifita, play for a good OC in Seth Doege, and then maybe approach the portal again the next year.
And I think it speaks to Braden Locke's maturity, because quarterbacks, they're psychos, right? Like Seth Doege will tell you, like every quarterback has this ego. Even Noah Fifita, right? He is the humble hero. He's the guy that only talks after losses. But he's got a very competitive ego, and Seth Doege has seen it many times. Braden Locke is one of those quarterbacks that has that QB ego, but it also says a lot about the guy, where you understand you're not going to be the starting quarterback. You're going to come in, you're going to be at best QB2, and you use this year, like you said, Damon, like this is going to be a springboard into his next opportunity. And I always felt like Braden Locke was going to be here for a year, right? When we were talking about quarterbacks in 2026, I always told people, like, I'd be surprised if Braden Locke is here. It'd be nice if Braden Locke could stay. But when you look at Sawyer Anderson having a year in the system, a guy that I call Baby Doege, undersized quarterback, the dude can spin it. Like, I kind of hope that Sawyer Anderson becomes a thing at Arizona, just because he's awesome. But he also, if you look at him, he looks like he's like a child.
Yes, he does.
He's got such a baby face. I believe you guys had him on in the spring, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe you guys saw him in the spring.
No, so yeah, what the story goes, and I asked you this question, I remember like a couple months back, because we were at spring ball, and it was like we don't get the opportunity, obviously, to go out to practice as much as some of the guys that are located in Tucson, such as yourself, and to go see these guys live in person. And when we're out there, like Fifita wasn't taking a lot of the spring ball reps. It was a glorified practice scrimmage, and it was a lot of Braden Locke and Sawyer Anderson. And I remember I vividly looked out there, and I looked at Kevin, and I was like, is this a high school kid that they have out there on the field that they're giving an opportunity to? Because he looks like, not only does he look like a high school kid in comparison to a lot of the giants that are on the football field, and I think that bears noting, right? Like, if I was on the football field, I'm probably pretty similar size to Sawyer Anderson. I would look ridiculous out there because I'm so much smaller than a lot of these O linemen. But he was slinging it, and all credit to him. But I was like, oh my God, not only is that a high school kid, that's like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. Like, he looks small out there on the football field. But you're right, Justin, he can sling it a little bit. So we'll see what he has in the tank next year as well.
He can. And I also think that the plan for Oscar Rios is, like, we all know that he is a big time player. And Brent talked about the story of when him and Seth Doege went out and saw Oscar Rios, and they were actually when he was at Downey High School, and they were playing against Inglewood High School, and they were down by a couple of touchdowns late. And then all of a sudden, Oscar Rios leads them on this like 20-point comeback. And they scored a touchdown with like just a couple of seconds left or something like that. And come to find out, the guy who caught the game-winning touchdown was his little brother. I think his name is Frankie or Francisco Rios, and he was the one who caught the touchdown pass late. But they love this guy. I mean, he's the quarterback that I think can really thrive in Seth Doege's system, because he's also got some legs too. He's not like necessarily like the athlete dual threat quarterback, but when he can run. He's got over 2,000 rushing yards at Downey High School, got the passing yards to go along with that. But the thing about Oscar Rios is that he is very skinny. He is 6'3", 175 pounds. You need to put on some weight. And I think that this year he's going to do a really good job in the weight room, develop his body a little bit, and then maybe in 2027 he can go out and compete for that starting quarterback spot. But whether it's Oscar Rios or Sawyer Anderson, and heck, Arizona, they got Luke Hago still on the roster,
true.
right? Like he's a big, he's different than the other guys. He's 6'5", got a bigger stature, but they've got some quarterbacks on that roster that aren't bad. But if
Luke Hago goes under the radar, I think he was a pretty solid prospect coming out of high school as well.
No doubt. And even Mason Bray, Mason Bray is a walk-on. And, he's a legacy kid. His father is the late, great Heath Bray, who played in the late 90s under Dick Tomey. And even, Mason Bray led Scottsdale Saguaro to a state championship and was one of the top quarterbacks in the Phoenix area when he was playing. And in the little bits that I've seen Mason Bray, the kid, he's mobile. He's very athletic, very smart guy. So there's some good quarterbacks. But, if I were a betting man, if I were to bet a nickel on the two quarterbacks that I think will really compete for that starting quarterback spot in 2027, because we all know 2026 belongs to Noah Fifita, Sawyer Anderson, Oscar Rios, those two guys. And you know what? They're going to learn from Noah Fifita this last year or this upcoming year. And, I mean, if you're learning from perhaps the greatest quarterback in Arizona football history, that should set you up nicely for 2027.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, obviously, with I'm saying Oscar Rios, probably the plan is to redshirt him. I would assume that's still the case. But Sawyer Anderson, I think, as a redshirt freshman, if he shows that like he is going to compete for that 2027 job, I think you see it in the form of him being potentially the backup quarterback for Noah Fifita next season. So we'll see how that plays out. But that'll be interesting to monitor for sure. Another thing I'm always monitoring is Justin Spears' social accounts, particularly his Twitter, because he tweeted this when one Gavin Brocious, O-lineman from Michigan State, entered the portal. He's a Arizona native, a guy that Arizona football has recruited in the past. Justin, are you just speculating here that this could be someone that they go back in on?
Yeah, I just, he's a guy that the previous staff recruited, Jet Fish and Company. They were looking at him. And, he's a Phoenix area guy. So I'm like, hey, maybe he decides to come back home. But, he is an offensive lineman, and those guys come with a price. And I'm wondering if he's going to go to another program, or maybe he looks to come back home and play for the Arizona Wildcats or even ASU, but we'll see what happens at ASU. Seems like Kenny Dillingham, they keep poking at him, trying to see if he wants to leave Tempe. So,
well, while we're on this podcast, the odds have literally gone from, and this is like online sports betting stuff. So like,
take it with a grain of salt.
Yes. But the odds have gone from like 9% or 34% to like 50% for Kenny Dillingham ending up at Michigan. He's also, per social media, been following and getting followed by a lot of current and future Michigan players. So I don't know.
Like Bryce Underwood just followed Kenny Dillingham, for example.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, like Jaden Davis kid as well. So
yeah, it's things are getting dicey.
Everything's turning up
in Tempe
Wildcat
here, but yeah, I mean it does factor in that like Arizona will be losing Ty Buchanan, Tristan Bounds, Kayane DeCambra, good players who were brought in to go, basically have one last go at college football here in Tucson. And there's a lot of seniors on this roster, especially in the defensive backfield and especially on the offensive line. I think Arizona is they definitely aren't like the best financial package school for a recruit to come to, but I do think that there's got to be some NIL that is opened up from losing a lot of starting O linemen, and there's a ton of playing time available, which is another factor that these guys want to play for. So hopefully Arizona is involved in getting some pretty decent level O linemen in this offseason.
And bingo, right there, you just said it, Damon, playing time. That's what Arizona has to offer. And
for sure.
When they were looking at offensive linemen in the transfer portal, they looked at Ty Buchanan. Ty Buchanan has starting experience, but he could come to Tucson and be a bona fide starter. Tristan Bounds, kind of like I compare his situation to Big Bill Norton a few years ago, where Bill Norton was a defensive tackle, but he wasn't getting any playing time at Georgia. But with all due respect, look at Georgia's defensive tackles during the time that he was playing there, right? They had a boatload of NFL defensive linemen. And so it's hard to get on the field, right? But just because you ain't Georgia good does not mean you're not Arizona good. And Tristan Bounds, kind of in the same vein, like he was at Michigan and they just had a lot of good offensive tackles, and he just kept finding himself being the backup. But you come to Arizona and you could compete for that starting right tackle spot, and sure enough, he did. He got it, and Tristan Bounds turned out to be one of the biggest pleasant surprises of the season. I didn't know what to expect out of Tristan Bounds because he was, kind of skinny for a tackle. Like if you look at his frame, like he's tall, he's got the stature, but he's 290. Where if you look at a guy that's about 6'8", you would want him to maybe be about 30 pounds heavier. But man, he developed as the season progressed, and he turned out to be such a great find for Arizona out of the transfer portal. Shout out to guys like Crowley in the scouting department for doing that. So yeah, I think that Arizona, they can go up to some of these offensive linemen, and some of them could be coming in from big schools, but considering the players that are leaving, they have the opportunity to offer playing time. But I also look at it like this, if Arizona, is underwhelming as far as adding offensive linemen, don't sleep on the guys that they have right now, because I think Matthew Lotto has done more than a serviceable job since entering for Tristan Bounds, who suffered that season-ending leg injury. I think Matthew Lotto has done a nice job at right tackle. And then who knows, maybe Rhino Tapatotai, he goes back to left tackle, or maybe they put Lotto at left, put Rhino at right. I just think that the thing with Tapatotai was, he was such a promising offensive lineman in his first season as a starter, but then he suffered that injury, and you could kind of tell that maybe he's a little gun shy a little bit, because he's got a lot of holding penalties, but these holding penalties, fireworks. That's the theme of today's show is fireworks.
I
but
love it.
If you notice,
It's Justin Spears' music.
Happy birthday.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate the early birthday wishes. But like Rhino Tapatotai, his holding penalties, it's him using his hands a little too much. He's being too grabby instead of moving his feet. And maybe a little bit of that has something to do with his psyche. Like, hey, I tore my ACL. I got a knee injury last year. I'm still trying to overcome that. This is not like source by any means. It's just my speculation from what I have been seeing out there on the field. And maybe Rhino, learning from Tristan Bounds, taking a step back. He went from being a starter to then one of the backups. Maybe that is good for Rhino. And maybe he can step in as a starter and become that offensive lineman that we all know that he can be. And I tell you what, the offensive linemen they have in that 2025 recruiting class, guys that are true freshmen this year, these guys are big-time players. Like, I cannot wait for when Louis Akpa finally gets his moment. This guy that's from the Bay Area, he is athletic. He is nasty. They've been so impressed with him as a true freshman, and it would not surprise me if we saw a guy like Louis Akpa maybe get into that mix. But offensive linemen, if they're available in the transfer portal, you got to go after them. And I'd imagine Arizona, considering they're going to be losing quite a bit of guys up front, that they'll be doing that.
That's the kind of insight I bring Justin Spears on for, Kevin, because like that fires me up. A guy like Louis Akpa, who I haven't obviously gotten to see much of, but people that are in and around the program, such as Justin, hearing from people that are the voices that matter, saying like this is a guy who we have a lot of belief in, and I that holds a lot of weight to me. So I'm excited for his development now.
Well, and think about it like this, guys. Matthew Lotto last year as a true freshman, he was bad, right? Brent Brennan said it, like he's a large man, but he's also a young man. And we got to give him time to develop and get those reps. And Louis Akpa didn't get those reps as a freshman because, he didn't have to. I think Arizona's done a nice job of, with their battle with attrition and keeping guys healthy and available. But I think that 1 year in the weight room for Louis and learning from the guys that he is understudying right now, I think is only going to set him up, whether it's next year or the year after that.
That's awesome stuff. Of course, always is when Justin Spears joins this program. Justin, we kept you long today. We appreciate your time. So generous as always.
Absolutely,
of course, follow
man.
Justin at Justin E Sports on social media. Follow his great work for Tucson.com, Arizona Daily Star. Great, written work covering this Arizona football team. And of course, on Spears and Ollie from 7 to 9 a.m. every weekday morning. Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll have you on next week, my guy.
You guys didn't ask, but Home Alone. favorite Christmas movie.
What's yours?
Honestly, like Polar Express or like
Dude, Polar Express is the worst answer. We had this
oh,
conversation
no.
earlier.
What's the one?
The worst movie, like one of my least favorite movies of all time. I see that, I'm out. I'm out the room.
What's the one with the Island of Misfit Toys?
Rudolph, no? Or
I just never remember the name.
Isn't it Rudolph or Frosty? It's one of the two.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Either way, that one's up there for me. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is up there for me.
Yeah, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, that one's an all-time classic.
It's a banger. See, I'm an elf man. I always will be. Since I was a kid, I've been an elf man. I still will be, for a very long time. But I also have been recently put on, and when I say recently, I mean like the last 10 years. 4 Christmases, a Vince Vaughn movie.
Dude,
Reese Witherspoon.
Great movie.
Unreal movie.
My gosh.
Not sure I've seen it.
Tim McGraw, Jon Favreau as like the backyard fighting brothers of Vince Vaughn. Oh man, that is one of my favorite newer Christmas movies, along with Christmas with the Cranks. Man, Tim Allen, because they're supposed to go on this vacation and he gets Botox. Dude, the scene of Tim Allen with his skin just stretched back and he's trying to eat peaches but he can't because his skin is so tight. Dude, I watched that in theaters. I peed myself laughing at that scene.
That movie's really good.
Yeah.
And he goes to his neighbors to steal the tree and then gets arrested in this whole thing and the kid runs away on him. That's a good movie.
It's a good movie. As far as non-Christmas movies that I believe is a Christmas movie, people always talk about Die Hard, and I think that is a Christmas movie.
It is.
But Batman Returns.
Wow.
Batman Returns with the Danny DeVito as the Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. That is a Christmas movie. That is a hill that I will die on.
Is that Clooney or Keaton?
Oh, come on, man. Michael Keaton.
It's Keaton. Yeah, right.
I wouldn't even mention the George Clooney Batman.
Yeah,
that is
a bad area.
The worst one. Especially because it has listen, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's great. But having him with his Predator puns, right? In Predator, he will throw a knife at somebody and will stick him on the wall. And then he'll say stick around. And then he'll go do his thing. I'll never forget when he was Mr. Freeze and he comes in with his big ice gun. He's like, hey, everybody, freeze. And then he ices all of them. And then when he's done icing them, he says,
cinema.
Chill out.
Cinema.
Such a
well,
bad
you know what?
movie.
We're going to, Justin, when we get you back on next week, let's do a Christmas movie draft against the three of us against one another. It could be a fun little way to round out the show. So we'll do it to get into the holiday season. But appreciate you always, Justin, bringing the juice for us here. A little bit of extra fun stuff as always. And like I said, follow all of Justin's great work, whether it's his radio show that he does daily, his written work for the Arizona Daily Star, and of course, just his social media presence in general. But we'll see you next week, Justin.
Thanks for the birthday wishes, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Always happy birthday, Mr. Justin Spears. Kevin, we're going to get out of here, but we do have one thing we got to talk about before we do, because I don't think we have time to on tomorrow's show. We're going to be talking a lot of ball tomorrow on our pregame show, Arizona, Alabama. We don't have to get into the stupid social media drama side of things, and we could keep this pretty short here, but Jaden Bradley once again disrespected Kevin. Enough is enough at this point. And to make matters worse, it's, as I've said, Kevin, every single one of these preseason point guard lists that had every guy that somehow, Arizona has played against so far this season, whether it's Xavier Lee, whether it's, a Boogie Fland or, a solo ball or, Donovan Dent. And now we have, Jaden Bradley, the Grim Reaper, has knocked down the doors of all of those guys. They're no longer on the list, Kevin. They're no longer on the list. They're afterthoughts now. But somehow Jaden Bradley has not found himself on the list, despite what the stats would tell you and what the eye test would tell you and what the rankings would tell you, being the number one team in the country. And who's that at number one? LeBaron Philon, our next opponent, the next door for Jaden Bradley to knock down. It's the disrespect has gotten out of control. How are you the point guard of the number one team in the country carrying this squad, especially in clutch moments, especially in the biggest games? The games that you would think that the national media would be watching, and you still don't make the top 10.
I mean, it's disgraceful. I mean, I'm not saying that Jamie Shaw is disgraceful, even though I did quote tweet
in this
something.
moment.
I did quote tweet something else that he put out the other day, and tried to dunk on him a little bit. But it does seem like the Arizona faithful has gotten the message through to Jamie Shaw. I saw during this show, I don't know if you saw this, Damon, during doing your scrolls, he did repost something from AZ Wildcats Sports that was something along the lines of looking for Jaden Bradley on this here list, and he was nowhere to be found. So it seems like the disrespect is still there. People still want to get rid of Jaden Bradley on these lists, but the Arizona Wildcat faithful is not letting it happen. And for that, I am thankful. And like you said, we are going to be talking a lot more ball tomorrow with Alabama coming up. But as I understand it, our Dillingham podcast, our Arizona State podcast here at PHNX has an interview, I believe, scheduled soon. And they're using maybe potentially this studio. I don't know. Is that true? That is the truth? And I believe we got to do our due diligence and help them out in that pursuit of content, Damon. So
I don't know why you had to be as weird as possible about that, but we'll get on out of here. We've been in for a long time today.
Can't just be
follow Kevin at Kevo Post. Follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And of course, follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all social media, except for TikTok, where we're at AZ Wildcats Pod. Appreciate Justin Spears for hopping on today. Thank you all for hanging in for an extra long episode of the AZ Wildcats podcast. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow for a pregame show, Arizona versus Alabama. 30 minutes prior to tip, we'll be going live, and we'll be bringing on my guy, Charles Branch from the Crimson Crossover podcast to help preview that one with us. And then we'll be doing postgame after the game is over. So stick around on this channel, subscribe, like, rate, and review, and we'll catch you tomorrow for Alabama pregame and postgame. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Catch Totri walk in Ann Arbor, hopefully.
We all silly like the mayor.